Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hello, friend. I hope you're in good health, and I don't know when you'll see this, but it's the holiday season right now, so ho, ho, ho. whatever that's about. Anyway, again, please stay in good health, and I hope that you're secure this world today. We're going to continue with the MahaPariNirvana Sutra. This first read, of course, is about my continuing effort to correct. You see all the little tags, the little tags in here. These are all corrections. This is my first, what they call an artist proof, an AP. So I'm trying to sort through all of the wonderful typos and what such. It's amazing, no matter how many times you reread something, when you print it out and you look at it and you read it out phonetically, word for word, well, phonetically, out loud, word for word, how much you see and you don't, how did I miss that, right? So thank you for tolerating this. It gives you a first read at the same time, and I'll be able to polish up this print edition so to make it available to you both as an ebook and a print book. Yeah. So we left off with Shakyamunibuddha being nonplussed, I said, by these immense ritualistic offerings, right? And rather than saying, yes, I accept, he just sat there silent. Like, we supposed to read your mind there, Shakyamuni? Suffice it to say that, what do we got? Millions of people at this point, all sitting to one side, wondering what the heck's going to happen next, right? So, to continue. Their wish not granted, the rich elders were sad. By Shakyamunibuddha's divine power, they were raised up 7 talas from the ground into the sky, where they remained in silence. Oh, something's going to happen, right? At that time, there were present the king of Vaisala and his consort, the people of the harem, and all the kings of Jampudvipa, excepting Ajatashatru, and those of the castle town and villages of his kingdom. Why not Ajatashatru? They included such as King Taintless as the Moon and others. They took along with them the 4 military forces of elephants, horses, infantry, and chariots, and desired to go to where Shakyamunibuddha was. Each king had people and relatives as many as 180 million billion. Again, the hyperbole, right? But the hyperbole isn't just for wonderful, picturesque sake. Understand always the hyperbole is meant to extend the reach of the mind, because Buddhism is about the mind, to all of those who are now in existence on the planet and those of the future. So that's what these huge audiences mean. This applies, in other words, this teaching about the experience of Dharma applies to all sentient minds, present and future, yeah? Once again, as I note here, we are building a story of an assembly that is beyond calculation or fathoming. The hyperbole of Buddhist illustrative thought is truly well intact in this sutra, yes? All right. The chariots and soldiers were drawn by elephants and horses. The elephants were 6 tusked, and the horses ran like the wind. Their adornments and utensils of offerings were 6 times as many as those which had preceded them. The offerings just keep getting larger and larger. Are we thinking that Shakyamuni isn't satisfied with the amount of offerings that are being given him? Certainly, as Buddhists, we know that would infer that Shakyamuni was suffering from great attachment anxiety, which is impossible, right? But nevertheless, this is an example of how people think. Well, if that wasn't enough, maybe more will do, right? Let's make him a greater offering. Ego is at play here, yes, but not Shakyamuni's. Anyway, the adornments and utensils, 6 times as much. Of all the bejeweled parasols, even the smallest filled a diameter of 8 yohanas. The smallest of the banners measured 16 yohanas, and all these kings abided quietudefully in the wonderful Dharma and detested twisted laws, teachings, or twisted teachings, right? They esteemed Mahayana and felt a deep joy in it. So they'd long ago left the early teachings, Theravada and Hinayana, all the early, what some call the Pali Canon. I don't know, it's a canon. It's an assemblage of translations in one language, but Shakyamuni's teachings were verbal, and those verbal teachings took the form of transcriptions over hundreds of years into many, many languages, not least of which, when it entered China, had to be invented all over again into Chinese linguistics, yes? And here we are, English-speaking, way down the line of translation, which is my whole motivation on the, not my entire motivation, but to clear up the meaning in these translations to be more to the point and less obscured by biases, yeah? Okay, I won't get into that again. They esteemed Mahayana. They loved beings as one loves one's only son. We hear that over and over again. The fragrance of the meals and drinks which were holding filled the air for 4 yohanas, all these sweet dishes, and went to the forest of twin sal trees. They went forth, in the morning, I missed a sentence. They too, early in the morning, went. The sun had just risen, carried forth all these sweet dishes, and went to the forest of the 2 sal trees where Shakyamunibuddha was, and said, O world-honored one, we wish to offer these to the Tathagata and the Sangha. Well, once again, Sylvain, you've outdone yourself with not having a pen or pencil handy. You know, we were taught in school to come prepared. And I'm still woefully missing on it. I'm so sorry. So many struggles lately. I don't know what it is about this time of year, but everything seems to go awry. I'm having all kinds of computer trouble and, whining. Sorry. All right. So I'm just going to mark that with one of my caretakers, my Melly Mel. Once again, you are essential to this process. See if I can get this apart. Okay. Oh, my goodness, Sylvain. Get it together. All right. So we wish to offer these to the Buddha and the Sangha. Please have compassion for us, O Buddha, and accept our final offerings. Is that your final answer? Oh, I don't know why I'm having so much fun this morning, but hey, this isn't supposed to be arduous. We're supposed to enjoy our practice, and I certainly have been. I hope you are, especially this time of year. This can be very stressful, relationships and so on being what they are. But found another error. Shakyamuni Buddha, aware of the occasion, keeps saying that. So keep in mind, this isn't about him. This is about what are we doing here, right? So Shakyamuni Buddha, aware of the occasion, would not take the offerings. Their wishes unanswered, all these kings were sad. They stepped back and took their seats to one side. This continues to happen, right? At that time, there were the consorts of the kings as numerous as the sands of 7 Ganges, excepting those of King Ajatashatru. So as to save beings, they manifested as female. They always were mindful of their bodily actions and perfumed their minds with the dharmas of the quiescent energy, formlessness, and desirelessness. They included such as the ladies' wonderful 3 worlds and virtue-loving. All consorts such as these abided quietly in the wonderful Dharma and observed the prohibitions and were perfect in their comportment. They behaved towards beings as one does one's only son. And they all said, get right to it here. Let us all speed to where the world-honored one is. The offerings of these royal consorts were 7 times as many as those that had preceded them. Ooh, it's getting unwieldy here, right? And theirs were incense, flowers, bejeweled hanging ensigns, silken cloths, banners, parasols, and the best meals and drinks. Even the smallest of the bejeweled parasols measured 16 yohanas. The lowest of the bejeweled hanging ensigns were 68 yohanas. The fragrance of the meals and drinks filled an area of 8 yohanas all around. Bearing all these offerings, they went to where Shakyamunibuddha was. They touched his feet, walked around him 100,000 times, and said to Shakyamunibuddha, O world-honored one, we have with us offerings for Shakyamunibuddha and the bhikshus. Please have compassion for us and accept our final offerings. What do you think happened? Well, Shakyamunibuddha, aware of the occasion, was silent and did not accept the offerings. All right, something's really afoot here. Their requests ungranted, all the consorts were sad. There's a lot of sad people now. They pulled out their hair, beat their chests, and wailed as though a compassionate mother had newly lost her only son. They stepped back and sat silently to one side. At that time, there were also devis, karmic potential. Whoa. I can't believe how many typos and weirdnesses there are. This is obviously a very much needed exercise, yes? Okay, we'll fix all of this. As numerous as the sands of 8 Ganges rivers, Virupaksa headed their number and said, "O sisters, see clearly, see clearly. The best offerings of all these beings are for Shakyamunibuddha and the bhikshus. We ought to be serious and make offerings to Shakyamunibuddha with all such wonderful utensils as these. He will partake of our offerings and enter Parinirvana. Our sisters, O sisters, it is hard to encounter the appearance into the world of Shakyamunibuddha. It is also difficult to make this last offering. Should Shakyamunibuddha enter nirvana, the world will become empty. In other words, we'll have no representation or support for our practice." You see the fallacy there, right? And maybe this is a clue as to why we're having this occasion and this problem, yes? Again, we've discussed this before, but the occasion here is the entering of Shakyamuni into parinirvana, and the perception, even though he's already taught the Lotus Sutra, the perception still continues that he's the source of enlightenment, which you and I know as modern Buddhists. Nichiren makes it very clear that it's, how does Nichiren say it? Look nowhere outside of your flesh and blood body for the source, right? The Gohonzon, the source, the mind, the opening of the Buddha eye, the Gohonzon, the ultimate goal, Gohonzon. The ultimate objective, the Gohonzon, mind, opening the eye of Buddha. It's unique to each and every one of us. There is no one who can imbue it upon us. We must do the work. It is your enlightenment, right? So this book is all about that struggle. And he's talking to people, well, not yet, but he's talking to people of all different experiences and exposure and levels of Shravakas, right? Some Pratyekabuddhas, some Arhats, some simply lay people practicing, right? So all levels of understanding or misunderstanding, trying to get them all to the Lotus Sutra. And as we'll witness throughout this book, it goes all over the place, depending or with respect to who he's addressing. Yes? All right. All these, the emancipated mind females, loved Mahayana and desired to hear it. Having heard it, they expounded it widely to others. Much prizing Mahayana, they also satisfied those who were dying for it. They protected Mahayana very well. If there were any other teachings who opposed or were jealous of Mahayana, they severely crushed them out, just as hail does grass. They were observant of the prohibitions, and their comportment was perfect. They accorded well with the world, passed across those who had not yet gained the other shore, and turned the wheel of the Dharma. They upheld the heritage of the three treasures so that it would not die out. You see how this is kind of a around-the-corner way of teaching the proper behavior, that reinstantiating what he described so in depth in the Lotus Sutra, right? Here are examples, these ladies behaving and upholding these teachings as they were taught. So he's teaching, or we're talking about a familiar audience here so far, you know? And I have to mark something else again, sorry. Oh my. I think I may start reading ahead so I don't have to have so many of these pauses. I do apologize. They protected Mahayana very well. They upheld the heritage of the three treasures. They studied Mahayana and greatly adorned themselves, perfect in all these virtues. They loved beings equally, just as one would love one's own son. They also, early in the morning, when the sun had just risen, all took up incense of the emancipated mind, the emancipated mind would, twice as great in number as those of the human world. The fragrance of all this incense blew away all bad human smells. Now, I've talked before about this, and I will again, especially in the prohibitions about eating meat. That's a popular, contentious one. But interesting that they point out here, blew away all bad human smells. Remember, this is 3,000 years ago. We didn't have Kohler and American Standard and all the other kind of opulent bathroom fixtures and showers and baths and all of this. People didn't take 2 or 3 showers a day or 2 or 3 showers a week. They rarely bathed. They didn't have washing machines or Tide Pods, right, to clean their clothes. It's just a reminder that human beings, we smell, we sweat. And when we sweat, we get rid of all the impurities that are in our body. And those impurities are often, if you're a meat eater or you eat garlic, if you've ever smelled somebody who's, say, my grandmother was big on garlic and mustard sandwiches when you were ill, when you had the flu or anything congestive, right? But somebody who eats a lot of garlic, whoo, boy, do they smell right, yeah? So keep this in mind. You'll see why later on. Their wagons had white roofs and were pulled by 4 horses. Each wagon had curtains, and on each of the 4 corners were hung golden bells. Of diverse kind were the incense flowers and hanging ensigns, banners, parasols, wonderful dishes, and masked dances. There were shimhasanas, lion thrones, the 4 legs of which were pure beryl, which is a precious stone. Behind the shimhasanas were couches inlaid with the 7 treasures. In front of each couch was an arm set of gold. The tree of light was of the 7 treasures, and the various gems served as lamps. Wonderful flowers were spread on the ground, and having made their offerings, all these Devis, Devi embodies the highest pleasures and is revered for her role in rituals, granting boons and offering support during moments of despair. They were sad at heart. Tears welled up, and great was their sorrow. In order to benefit beings and make them happy, they had accomplished the unsurpassed practice of all quiescent energy of Mahayana, and they purposed to reveal Shakyamuni-Buddha's undisclosed teaching of expediency, which was the Lotus Sutra, right? And in order to prevent the various lectures from dying out, they came to where Shakyamuni-Buddha was, touched his feet, walked around him 100,000 times, and said to Shakyamuni-Buddha, "Oh, world-honored one, please accept our final offerings." Shakyamuni-Buddha, aware of the occasion, was silent and did not accept their offerings. All these Devis, their wishes unanswered, well, they were sad. They stepped back, took their seat on one side, and sat there silently, expectantly, right? What in the world are we to learn that we've missed something, right? At that time, there lived various Naga kings in the 4 quarters, as many of them as the sands of 9 Ganges. They were Vasuki, Nanda, and Upananda, who headed up their number. All these Naga kings, too, early in the morning, when the sun had just risen, took up their utensils of offerings, as numerous as those of man and the Pure Land. Carrying these to where Shakyamuni-Buddha was, they touched his feet, walked around him 100,000 times, and said to him, "O Buddha, please accept our offerings." And Shakyamuni-Buddha, aware of the occasion, was silent and did not accept their offerings. Moving right along. All the Naga kings, their wishes not met, were sad. They stepped back and sat to one side. At that time, there were demon kings, as numerous as the sands of the 10 Ganges. Vairasvana headed their number, and they said to one another, "Let us hasten to where Shakyamuni-Buddha is." Carrying with them various things of offering, twice as many as those of the Naga kings, they went to Shakyamuni-Buddha, touched his feet, walked around him 100,000 times, and said to him, "O Buddha, please have compassion for and accept the last of our offering." Where are you? My goodness. Shakyamunibuddha, aware of the occasion, was silent and did not accept. Their wishes unfulfilled, they were felt sad. Millions and millions and billions of people now, all sad. Oh, what a display. Stepped back and sat to one side. At that time, there were also Garuda, mythical birds. Garuda kings, as numerous as the sands of 20 Ganges. Oh, now we're not just adding one river, we're doubling down. King Victor over resentment headed their number. Also, there were Gandharva, or demi-karmic potential musicians, kings, who were as numerous as the sands of 30 Ganges. King Narada headed their number. Also, there were Kimnara, a celestial singer and dancer, kings. They're as numerous as the sands of 40 Ganges. Okay, we must be nearing the end of this procession, right? King Sudarsana headed their number. Also, there were Maharaga, the snake-headed being kings, who were as numerous as the sands of 50 Ganges. King Mahasudarsana headed their number. Also, there were Ashuras, contentious and titanic demon kings, yes, who were as numerous as the sands of, you guessed it, 60 Ganges. King Kampula headed their number. Also, there were generosity kings, who were as numerous as the sands of 70 Ganges. King Water of the Untainted River and the Bharadata headed up their number. Also, there were Rakshasas, carnivorous demon kings, who were as numerous as the sands of 80 Ganges. King Fearful headed their number, abandoning malevolence. He did not devour men, even amidst resentment. He showed compassion. His form was ugly to look at, and yet looked right and austere due to the power of Shakyamunibuddha, or the influence, if you will. Also, there were forest kings there, who were as numerous as the sands of 90 Ganges. King Music and Fragrance headed their number. Also, there were Dharani, the magic incantation spell possessing kings, who were as numerous as the sands of 1,000 Ganges. King Great Vision of Dharani upholding headed their number. Also, there were lustful pretas, ghosts, who were there as numerous as the sands of 100,000 Ganges. King Sudarsana headed their number. Also, there were lustful devis, who were as numerous as the sands of 10 million Ganges. The emancipated mind, blue wet, sad wet corpse, imperial way wet, and Vishaka headed up their number. And there's another. This is getting depressing. Okay. Also, there were Preta kings of the earth there, who were as numerous as the sands of 1 billion Ganges. The numbers are just getting crazy here. King Whitely Wet-headed, their number. Princes, emancipated guardians, 10 million billion Ganges. Values of the 4 quarters, sands of 10 million billion Ganges. These called forth seasonal, unseasonal flowers upon the trees and strewed them between the sal trees. Also, there were as many principal karmic potentials of clouds and rain present, 10 million billion Ganges, who said to themselves, when Shakyamunibuddha enters nirvana, we shall call forth rain at the time of the cremation and extinguish the fire. Should there be anyone who feels hot and moans, we shall make the air cool. Fragrant elephant kings, numerous as 20 Ganges, Rahustin and Suvarnashastin, Amritahastin, blue-eyed elephant, fragrance-desiring elephant, who headed up their number. They respected and loved Mahayana as Shakyamunibuddha Buddha was about to enter nirvana. Each took up innumerable, boundless, beautiful lotus flowers and came to where Shakyamunibuddha was, touched his feet, stepped back, and sat to one side. Also, there were lion kings there, as numerous as 20 Ganges. Lions roar headed their number. To all beings they gave fearlessness, bearing flowers and fruits, came to Shakyamuni, touched his feet, did the procession. There were kings of flying birds there, as numerous as the sands of 20 Ganges, including lapwings, wild geese, mandarin ducks, peacocks, and all such birds, and Gandharvas, and Karandas, mynas, parrots, kokilas, wagtails, and so on and so forth, such birds. They touched his feet and stepped back, sat to one side. There were buffalo, cows, sheep present, and now it's the animal world. All of these show up. Everything shows up to hear these final words of Shakyamuni. We're getting the point, right? And I made a note here, and we'll end on this note. By this time, it's obvious that the attendants of this great event encompass all potential living beings of the entire cosmos, earthbound and beyond. When we consider the Buddhist calculation of 3,000 realms in a single thought moment, and a moment measured as max Planck time, remember that? The 5.391247 by times 10 to the negative 44, right? There'd be 43 zeros before you get to 53912, right? That is an increment of a second. We are talking about billions upon billions of moments or fluctuations of realms, influences we navigate and are influenced by in a day. So there's a relationship with these unfathomable numbers, right? They speak to the activity in our beingness, that our sentient mind is just scraping the very surface of awareness of in our day-to-day lives. What we think we observe is such a tiny, tiny fraction of all of the background influences that we're actively choosing from. And how do we make those choices? We make those choices based on habit, right? Habits that we're totally unaware of. And another word for those habits is karma. It's the actions we take. And those actions start on the molecular, atomic, energetic level. And we're just aware of very evolved, fully formed, even though sometimes we talk about stream of consciousness, like there's so many thoughts in my head. But those are just a pale fragment of everything that fed those thoughts, helped those thoughts come into being. They influence those thoughts in so many ways. Not least of which is the moment that you're in. It's an interactive relationship. That's why we call it being, right? Not doing, but being. There's a difference. Well, considering that, we can imagine each moment as a character in our massive experience of life. The inertia of all those epistemological decisions made for entire hours, days, weeks, etc., and all those aspects of our collective experience must be in attendance as we observe this now singular and intentioned practice without hand-holding from the one Buddha. In other words, this leads you to the idea of what enlightenment is. To be that fully aware. It's quite a phenomenal task. Yes, as I often say, Buddhism is about the mind, but we often take for granted how immense the mind truly is. In these attendance sections of each sutra, several mindsets and levels of study and understanding are represented as personages. The personages of bhikshus and bhikshunis, kings and monks of various accomplishment, all are simply the many aspects of each of us individual in samsara, but collectively as living beings with inherent Buddha or Tathagata nature. And on that note, we'll take a pause here. Where's that card? Oh my goodness, I'm a mess today. There it is. Sorry. All right. Well, we're going to shift here. With our next video, we'll start talking about, we have a little more of that to go. And then we'll start talking, he's definitely going to get into, he's finally going to accept something. So that should be earth-shattering. But we will talk about that next time. In the meantime, thank you for being here. Thank you for your practice, right? Stay strong. Keep your practice. Savor your practice. Take care of your health. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. All right?